How do you create better boundaries in your life with your family, your friends, your loved ones, with yourself, with your clients, with your business, with your job? We're talking about that today on Happiness Happens, but we're not talking about it in a fluffy way. We're talking about it in a real, tangible way. And I'm going to give you some actual examples of things that I've noticed in my own life and ways that I'm trying to course correct and make sure that I am showing up as my best self every single day. So, in order to figure out boundaries, you need to first understand your level of perfectionism and people pleasing tendencies. Okay. One thing that I've realized about myself, especially, it like really has become apparent in the last year or so, is how much of a people pleaser I am and how much I would live my life for other people to make them happy, to listen to what they say as truth for me, to take their opinion and make it my opinion, right? And what I've found in the last year is that when we do that and when we live in a way of sacrificing our own opinions and our own beliefs for agreeing or believing what somebody else thinks is true for us, we sacrifice a lot of who we are and we sacrifice a lot of our own happiness. We tend to skew on the side of this particular thing is what so and so wants me to do, so I should do it. And what I realized was I had, oh my God, I think my whole life walked through my life with this in mind, that so and so is going to tell me to do this. So this is what I should do because I trust this person. And why would anyone ever want to lie to you? And why would anyone want to steer you in the wrong way, right? Quote unquote wrong. The challenge with that though, and what happens is when you start to live your life in a way that other people want you to live, right? You're not actually living for your own self and you're not actually doing the things that make you happy and bring you joy at the end of the day. So it's about getting quiet with yourself and being a little bit discerning of, I appreciate the perspective of the people that I love. And also, does that specific feedback feel true for me? And then from there, realizing that could this story that's being told to me be a projection from somebody else's lived experience? Or is it my own, right? How do we start to differentiate between the stories that are ours to keep and the stories that are projected onto us by the people that want the best for us? That is the challenge. That is the way in which we start to understand the level and depth of our people pleasing tendencies and the level and depth of our perfectionism. Okay. So I will be the first one to admit to you, I'm a huge people pleaser. I hate making people upset. I hate when people are disappointed in me. I hate when people are sad with me or whatever that feeling might be. And it's really hard for me to let down the people that I love. And what I've realized over the last few years is when we make decisions because that's what somebody else wants for us, it's really hard for us to make the decisions that are the best for us overall. And so what this led me to understand was the way in which I do not have boundaries in my own life. And so I've been learning over the last few years how to create more boundaries in my own space, in my own life, right? So that ultimately I'm living my life in the most authentic way for me. And it's really hard to do that, right? It's hard to decipher what that story is. It's hard to decipher, is the story that this person telling me, is that true for me, right? Or is it a story that they are saying and telling me out of their own fear, out of their own lived experiences, and out of their own judgment? What the people in our lives have gone through is important to consider, but it's not always true for us. And that's where it can get a little bit uncomfortable, right? Because just because someone has lived a specific experience does not mean that we will also. So I thought about this and I was like, I feel like I need to do an episode to help people understand the power of having boundaries and that they don't need to be mean. Because I was under the impression before that putting up boundaries made me a mean person. And it's really hard. One thing I will caveat and say, it's been really hard putting boundaries in my life because people are not used to me putting boundaries in my life. And so what's been really challenging about that is I know that what I'm doing is best for me. And I'm someone that seeks validation from every single source because I don't trust myself, right? I don't trust myself to make the best decisions for me in my life all the time. I'm still learning, right? So I look to people to validate what I'm saying and to validate what I think. But then the challenge becomes when they don't validate it, I'm like, what am I missing? Because I never experienced that. I've never experienced this particular thing. So how do we start to learn how to put up a boundary in our lives, right? But then more than that, validate our own selves instead of looking for that validation in other people. Because when you look for validation in other people, you're getting a projection of their own lived experience and not necessarily your reality. So, the first thing that I want to touch on is communication. When you're setting a boundary, you want to make sure that you're communicating in a clear way and in an assertive way. And I will make a distinction that assertive does not mean mean, right? It can just be the way that it is. Assertive just is direct, right? But this is the first step in creating a boundary because you need to clearly define what your boundaries are to your own self. So, this includes being assertive in your communication, expressing your needs or expressing your limits without being aggressive. So it's the tone of voice that we use, the way in which we approach situations, making sure that we're using I statements to convey how I feel, like how you feel and what you need, right? So, like, I feel very overwhelmed when I work for a very long time, or I need to make sure that I finish work at a specific time in order to, stay healthy and enjoy my life. Being assertive in our communication respects your needs and also the needs of the other people that are around you. And it makes it easier for you to put up that boundary. Okay. The next one, and this is really hard, is to learn how to say no. No, in terms of no, I don't want your opinion. No, in terms of that doesn't feel good for me. No, in terms of I don't feel like doing this right now. No, in terms of I can't meet you for dinner. No, in terms of I can't come over, right? One of the most challenging and most crucial aspects of setting boundaries is learning to say no. This can apply to so many different situations, like I was just listing off before, but it doesn't matter if it comes to work or your home life, your family life, or anything that goes beyond your capacity, or even things like, deciding you don't want to participate in gossip or like be a gossipy person, or, not attending social events that are going to drain your energy, like that kind of stuff. It's not being selfish to say no to things that don't serve you. It's a way of respecting your own limits, right? It's a way of respecting and prioritizing your own well-being. So we can say no in a very kind and a really firm way, and remembering that you don't always need to elaborate, right? You can just say, no, I'm not feeling X, Y, and Z. No, I don't feel like going for dinner. No, I don't feel like hanging out. And you don't necessarily need to elaborate any further than that. You can share how much information you want about something, what feels good for you. A lot of the times when you're a people pleaser like me, especially if you're looking for validation in different things, it can be really easy to look at what we're saying no to and feel like we need to justify even further what that no is and why we've decided to say no. So I would highly consider that aspect and making sure that your no is kind and firm and aligned to everything that you want for yourself in your life. It is not mean to say no. And then the last piece that I want to talk about here is the self-awareness, right? The self-awareness that comes with the growth journey, the self-awareness that comes with the way in which you live your life every single day, right? Creating those boundaries, you need to understand your own limits, your own values, and what you specifically need to thrive. And a lot of the times, this can require self reflection and awareness. And also, one thing that's been really interesting for me is paying attention to how certain things make me feel, how certain conversations make me feel, how hanging out with certain people makes me feel, spending my time doing different activities. How does that make me feel? Does it feel good or does it feel bad? Do I want to do more of it or do I want to do less? It's not a bad thing. Then the other thing you want to remember too is the story you're telling yourself in your mind about who or how somebody is impacting your ability to connect on a deeper level, right? So it all comes back down to self-awareness. But you don't ever want to be in a place where you feel constantly drained or on edge or anxious or disrespected or overwhelmed. Because these are some of the feelings that can indicate that you might need to set a boundary, right? And when you know your limits and when you honor those limits, you can communicate your needs better, way, 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 way better. And ultimately, the expectation to other people. So I just wanted to share this short and sweet episode with you today about some of the things I'm learning in my life and making sure that I am living in the most integrity that I can every single day, regardless of what other people might think about it, right? It's not your job to explain what makes you happy. It's not your job to seek approval from other people. If you are good with you and you're good with your decisions and you are making aligned decisions for yourself, then you are living in a powerful way, right? You are living in a way that is empowering your own self to learn to trust yourself, to learn to trust your decisions, to trust your mind, to trust the stories that are coming your way. So that's what I'm leaving you with today. Thank you for joining me. Tell me if this resonates with you. Leave me a comment or leave me a review. I want to know, what do you think of this? Is this resonating with you? Do you like this? And find me on social media. My Instagram is @happinesshappenstoday. And just connect with me. Send me a message. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you're finding significant from this conversation in your own life today. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Happiness Happens. Remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it.